Hey guys, so as we prepare for summer, I'm going to start sending you some of these video thinks. They won't be long, but they won't be short. It's just something I want you to take time out of your day just to watch, listen, and ponder, and I'd love to have some feedback on it. But today's topic is really leadership. So you guys, as quad leaders, as ADs, as coordinators, have all been called to a position of leadership this summer. And that's a combination of what I've seen in you over the years, but also where I feel like God is placing you as I've kind of prayed through and positioned people this summer. And leadership carries a heavy tone, and it should. I want that weight to feel heavy on your shoulders as you guys enter into those positions. Now, some of you have been in these positions before. Some of you have not. Some of you have been in leadership positions outside of camp before, and that's great. And I hope that those experiences become a benefit to you as well as your leadership here this summer. But there's really four main points that I want to make known to you of what I believe is valuable in a leader. Now, you could probably read books on this and argue, but these are four reasons that I looked at as I began to form staff this summer, as Eric and I began to talk things over. Knowing you guys, these are what the qualities I looked at. So, first and foremost is a compassionate person. A leader in your positions this summer has to be compassionate. A lot of the students underneath you feel the need to share with you what's going on in life, their hardships, their trials or troubles, and quite frankly, you're going to hear a lot of sadness more than joy. And that's tough. That's the nature of our culture right now, and that shouldn't be the way it is. But as a compassionate person, you need to allow your ear to be open and listen. But you also need to give God-centered advice. So as a leader, you need to always point them back towards Jesus. If all you're hearing from a student is, woe is this, woe is that, woe is my life, boy, this has been tough, maybe it's your chance to say, hey, can we talk about some of the joyful things God's put in your place, put before you? Maybe you're just not seeing the bigger picture. Maybe you're really fighting this spiritual battle where Satan's got you focused on so many negative things that you're not seeing all the good things that God's doing around you. So, having compassion and having a God-centered attitude where you're staring those people and hearing their concerns and empathizing and sympathizing with them, but yet having the leadership to say, but let's focus on Jesus in all of this, that will not only heal, but it will really create a sense of happiness, and it will establish your leadership too. Another thing is a disciple maker. That's your job. God's made you a disciple, and a disciple's job is to make other disciples. So once again, the nature of our culture is very needy. And I'd like to say it won't happen within our staff, but your staff, your senior counselors and JCs will take everything that you allow them to have, your time, your energy, your emotions, and some more than others. And once again, your job is to establish them as a leader also. You are leading so that one day they will lead. You are a disciple so that one day they will be a disciple. And it all, once again, kind of goes back to that first point, being compassionate and being God-centered. So as you be a disciple to them, challenge them to be disciples too. Okay, let's talk about this in your life. Now, what has God done? Okay, so that's great. Now, what are you going to do for the next person when they come to you with the same issue or the same problems or the same needs or wants, because that trickles down in the scheme of summer camp. Your leadership trickles to a senior counselor's leadership, to a junior counselor's leadership, to a camper's leadership, which will one day, maybe, come back to Hidden Acres and be another generation of leaders. And if it doesn't, you're at least taking the opportunity to establish leadership within a home someday, or within that person's career or their neighborhood. It's not just about camp. It's not just about a church. It's so much more. So be a disciple maker. A third is discipline. I need you guys to be disciplined in many ways. some of the logistical things are just a schedule. Understand what's going on, understand what your counselors and junior counselors should be doing. Get to meetings. Have some sort of spiritual food on your own. Find time, make it regular. There's all these areas of discipline that are pretty important to being a functioning leader. Your memorization, we've got a challenge that some of you guys should be setting the pace. For those who are not doing so well, you should be encouraging them. You should be helping them, But it all starts with you. People see your discipline, and it challenges them to become disciplined too. And so think about the areas of life where maybe you are accomplishing a good discipline, or maybe you're weak. Because if there's an area that you're weak, you have time. And granted, nobody's perfect. But work on that area of weakness in the weeks that we have to come. And the last one is, I need you to be an enforcer. With 150 people, there's always problems to solve. There's rules to follow. There's policies and procedures to follow. And it's not that we're trying to become an institution. I really don't want that. But even just as brothers and sisters in Christ, we owe it to each other to obey. And obedience is a big part. In the past, there's been little things that might be camp policies, such as dress codes, covering tattoos, allowing certain piercings, things like that. Now, a lot of those are questionable culturally. Our culture will say that's not bad, and I know some of your generations, and even my generation says, well, that's not really a bad thing. But you got to realize that our camp policies and procedures and rules and dress codes and things in our manual dictate that this will be followed. And so sometimes it comes down to you as quad leaders. Within your group, if you see or know somebody who is not abiding by the rules or is maybe outside of our policies or procedures, it's your job to have that confrontation. Now, confrontation always sounds horrible, but it doesn't have to be horrible. I don't like confrontation, never have. But in my job, there's value to it. And a lot of times confrontation, if you understand it well, is just another way to disciple somebody. Jesus confronted people on issues. He confronted his own disciples. And if we're afraid of confronting people, then what are we accomplishing? So, just kindly going up to one of your staff members and saying, hey, that tattoo that you have on your wrist, I know you covered it when parents came, but it also needs to be covered through the week. It's just one of those rules. I'm not trying to be mean, but I hope that you can follow rules. And if you need something, maybe a wristband or something, I can find that for you. You offer help. You're not a dictator. You're not a persecutor. You're a compassionate individual who wants to encourage them to follow the rules. And so, you guys, I think that's probably the biggest challenge as ADs and quad leaders is when I say to you guys, you should have enforced that. And it's tough. I get it. I trust me, I know. But I shouldn't have to say that. Or if I do say that, I expect it to be followed, And so, those are some big areas of leadership that I want you to think about. Just kind of recapping. Be compassionate. Be a God-centered individual. Be a disciple maker, be disciplined, and then also be an enforcer. Those three areas are areas that I would love to see you guys think about over the next 6 weeks. How am I going to be compassionate? What are the words, sentences, things that I can say? How do I be compassionate to a person who I really don't want to be compassionate towards? Maybe they've upset you. How do I be a disciple? How do I bring up other disciples? What things can I be doing for them, excuse me, that will encourage them to lead somebody else? What things in my area of life are not disciplined? What are those areas that I need to work on? And finally, how am I going to enforce those situations? How am I going to do the things that I don't like to do because it's a part of my job? Those are the things I'd love you to think about. So here's the thing. If you got questions, please email me. I want to have that conversation. I want to know where you guys are at. If you have comments, thoughts, also email me. I'd love to see those and discuss those. So I'll try to send another video next week on another topic. Until then, we'll see you soon.